Issues of the regional economy, food security, regional security, health, climate change, and climate financing will be on the agenda of the 44th regular meeting of the Conference of CARICOM Heads of Government that starts 15 February in the Bahamas. CARICOM Secretary General Dr. Carla Barnett talks about the relevance of the issues for the CARICOM heads when they meet for the first time in 2023.
We'll be talking about the CSME in particular as well, because taking note of progress there is important. Climate finance, climate change is important because we are, as we speak, bearing the brunt of the impact of climate change. At the same time, we're having great difficulty accessing financing on the from the international community to treat with the impact of climate change on our economy. So those things are really very important, and we're expecting to have good discussions about these, yes.
Prime Minister Dr. Terence Chu will lead the St. Kitts and Nevis delegation that will include Minister of Foreign Affairs Dr. Denzel Douglas, as well as permanent secretaries from the Office of the Prime Minister and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Larry Vaughan, and Kay Bass, head of the Regional Integration and Diaspora Unit. Glenn Bart reporting for SK Newsline. The success of MSR Media movie making on Nevis is attracting the interest of other companies, said Nevis's Premier Mark Brantley. According to Brantley, the small industry established through MSR Media's interest and the success it has attained is an important economic pillar for Nevis, as it helps to create new jobs, support small enterprise, impart new skills and career options for nationals, as well as having a supportive aspect for the island's tourism. Brantley disclosed that with the increased interest by other companies, the NIA is going to set up a film commission that will promote and process such interest.
Others are now interested. I have been in communication with other film producers who have seen what has been happening here on Nevis and are now interested in coming. And I've said to them, Nevis is open for business. And so I want to again go on record to thank Mr. Martinez and his team for taking a chance on Nevis. And I want to take a moment to say thank you to the Cabinet of the Nevis Island Administration, because when the opportunity presented itself, the Cabinet members saw the value and embraced it. We want to hire someone to put that person in the position of a film commissioner, and that person then, with the staff that they need, will be the focal point for film and filmmaking on the island of Nevis, to attract new entrants, to build out what we have, to see how we can strengthen and build upon the relationship that we have with MSR, but also to attract new participants and to build out this infrastructure in a significant way. That is what governments who are innovative, people who are thinking, that is what we do.
Brantley has repeatedly emphasized the importance of diversifying Nevis's economy given the experience learned during the COVID-19 pandemic. Glenn Bart reporting for SK Newsline.
Living in the Caribbean is like paradise until you try to sell or buy an item online. If only there was an online marketplace that caters to your region. Well, now there is. On Buy Sell SKN, you can easily buy or sell used and new items, browse for services, and it's completely free. Visit buysellskn.com, create your free account, sell your item or service, and get paid.
The SKN Newsline website now offers you more news. Log on to www.sknnewsline.com for local, regional, and international news. You can also watch the latest newscast and keep abreast with news in sports, all from sknnewsline.com. That's www.sknnewsline.com. News at your fingertips. Nestled between evergreen mountains and the Caribbean Sea on the island of St. Kitts is the Millhouse Guest House and Convention Center. With breathtaking views, a rugged, beautiful shoreline, and immaculate manicured gardens make this the perfect location for your holiday, event, or wedding. With a large convention center, apartments with balconies providing stunning views, and a secluded cottage for larger family groups or honeymooning couples looking for some privacy. We have something for everyone. Book your stay at www.millhouseskn.com or visit our Facebook page, the Millhouse Guest House and Convention Center, an oasis of tranquility.
Vendors of Borio Community Strip were given the opportunity to share their concerns with Acting Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Marine Resources and Cooperatives, Miguel Fleming, during a meeting held at the stalls in Borio recently. During a brief interview with the ministry's media and communication team, the Acting Permanent Secretary pledged his support on behalf of the ministry to ensure that the vendors can comfortably ply their trade at the Borio Strip adjacent Freight's Bakery.
The Ministry of Agriculture is committed to ensuring that persons are able to ply their trade in a comfortable manner. So we discussed some of the issues that are currently faced by the vendors to see how we can rectify them in a quick manner so that we can see that the investment that has been made is fully utilized and persons can truly benefit. Some of the issues addressed were water, toilet facilities, enclosing each stall so they can store their items so they don't have to pack up each day and come back, with that, monotonous routine. So we think that, these are not very difficult issues to address, and the ministry is committed to ensuring that they are done.
The Permanent Secretary said he is committed to assisting the food suppliers and farmers who have not been able to occupy their designated stalls for several months. He reassured them of his ministry's plans to enhance the project, which will in turn improve the quality of their services. The Borio Vendors Market was officially launched on Thursday, June 2nd, 2022, and was created to provide residents in the rural areas with easier access to fresh, locally grown produce. Andre Huey, SKN Newsline. Caribbean Regional Technical Assistance Center, CARTAC, is available to provide technical assistance to Caribbean countries in need of building climate risk resilience. This and other matters pertaining to the work of CARTAC was explained by Christian Jost, director of CARTAC, during a presentation to Caribbean journalists who were part of an IMF media workshop in Barbados recently.
One of the needs, the special needs of the region, is building resilience to climate risks. The Caribbean is way more exposed than the rest of the world to climate risks. It has been in the past, as you know, economies like Dominica, Grenada and others have been regularly hit by severe weather events that sometimes have completely wiped out the infrastructure, the real infrastructure of the country. So we pay special attention to climate, to help in these countries building resilience to climate risks in all what we do. So for the tax collection agencies, it means you need to be prepared to continue to collect taxes even when the economy is hit by weather events. So all the work that we had done to help these economies to work digitally was a great help when COVID hit, because then all countries had to move digital to continue to work in revenue collection agencies.
According to information on CARTAC's website, the Caribbean Regional Technical Assistance Center, CARTAC, is one of 10 IMF Regional Technical Assistance Centers located around the world in the Pacific, the Caribbean, in Africa, and in the Middle East, India, and Central America. These centers were created to help countries strengthen human and institutional capacity to design and implement sound macroeconomic policies and reduce poverty. I'm Andre Huey for SKN Newsline.
Living in the Caribbean is like paradise until you try to sell or buy an item online. If only there was an online marketplace that caters to your region. Well, now there is. On Buy Sell SKN, you can easily buy or sell used and new items, browse for services, and it's completely free. Visit buysellskn.com, create your free account, sell your item or service, and get paid.
The SKN Newsline website now offers you more news. Log on to www.sknnewsline.com for local, regional, and international news. You can also watch the latest newscast and keep abreast with news in sports, all from sknnewsline.com. That's www.sknnewsline.com. News at your fingertips.
Expressing concern for the possibility of corruption rearing its ugly head in the police force, Prime Minister Andrew Holness says members of the force ought to be subjected to an interdiction process to weed out those who give the force a bad name. Focusing on the security force's enforcement methods, the PM urged the police to apply discretion where warranted, though he believes this should not present an opportunity for exploitation.
I do know that the leadership of the police is very concerned about complaints of corruption and citizens offering bribes or policemen asking for bribes, and this cannot be tolerated because it undermines the confidence of the citizens.
Amid the plethora of concerns being raised by motorists regarding the new Road Traffic Act, PM Holness says the penalties and higher fines should deter reckless driving. As he warns, it is highly unlikely that another amnesty period will be granted.
We have now reached a far way. I'm not saying we're perfect yet, but we have reached a far way in resolving some of the cross-ministerial bureaucratic and administrative issues which would have justified an amnesty in the past.
Amid issues being raised with old tickets that have already been paid still showing up on offenders' records, the Prime Minister assures no one will be penalized for a system error.
We have seen people posting on social media, I've paid this ticket before and it has come up back again, or I've been charged for this, but there's another charge. Errors like those are being addressed, and I want to give the public the assurance.
Prime Minister Holness says it is important for persons having this challenge to report it. Nasika Aliman reporting for
Enterprises like St. Lucia's Citizenship by Investment program are heavily scrutinized by international powers as the possession of global passports may limit scrutiny of individuals posing potential threat. Speaking to journalists at Monday's February 6 weekly pre-cabinet briefing, Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre expressed his faith in St. Lucia's Citizenship by Investment program.
We've always said that our CIP can face any challenge. We've said that we believe that the CIP, our CIP, all the due diligence that is necessary happens in our CIP program.
The Prime Minister highlighted the importance of not marginalizing a group of people but treating each person on a case-by-case basis.
There are people all over the world who like democracy, who want to get involved in democracy. There are people all over the world. So we cannot use a white person because you're an Iranian or because you're American or because you're English. You fall in one category. We practice a system of due diligence where every applicant for a passport is scrutinized and it's validated, and then a passport is issued.
As a result of this, Mr. Pierce states all the due diligence necessary for running the CIP exists within the program, and he issued a personal invitation to EU auditors to observe the process.
In fact, I personally asked the Europeans, come in and look at what we have. Come in and talk to us. Come in and do your audits. Come in and see what we have. We are confident that we can pass any due diligence test that is imposed upon us.
Prime Minister Pierce stated that island states need to band together and have confidence in their capabilities to effectively run citizenship by investment programs. He noted that the conversation concerning the CIP will continue at the end of the Monetary Council meeting on the last Friday in February.
Planes flying over Michigan close to Lake Huron after the fourth high-altitude object was shot down in just 8 days. The Pentagon says it's unprecedented, and beyond its size and altitude, little is known about the latest octagonal object down by a U.S. jet. Officials say it posed no security threats, but they aren't ruling out anything.
Have you ruled out aliens or extraterrestrials, and if so, why?
I'll let the intel community and the counterintelligence community figure that out. I haven't ruled out anything at this point. We continue to assess every threat or potential threat unknown that approaches North America with the attempt to identify it.
In January, a giant Chinese balloon drifted for days over American and Canadian airspace before it was shot down earlier this month off the South Carolina coast. U.S. officials called it a surveillance object, but China insisted it was conducting weather research. Since then, 3 unidentified objects have been downed, but only the first has been attributed to Beijing.
It's been publicly reported that the Chinese have had a very robust system of utilizing balloons for surveillance in the sovereign airspace of other countries. Reportedly, the Chinese have violated the airspace of over 40 countries worldwide, utilizing this system of surveillance balloons.
The incidents have further strained ties between Washington and Beijing, with Secretary of State Antony Blinken calling off a visit meant to ease relations. And it's prompted questions about the extent of China's surveillance in the United States. Kulsum Sharif, Al Jazeera.
Now to concerns about the oil markets after Russia said it's planning to cut oil production by 5% next month. This represents roughly 500,000 barrels per day and comes in response to recent Western price caps on Russian crude following its invasion of Ukraine. For more on this, we want to bring in Stanley Reed. He is an energy writer for the New York Times. Good morning. Thanks so much for making time.
Good morning. Thank you.
So I want to start with asking you what impact you expect those cuts to have on gas prices for Americans.
I think at this point, relatively little, because the market is pretty well supplied. And if you look at the big global picture, this is only about 0.5% of overall supplies. So probably at this point, not that much.
Is the government doing enough then to stabilize prices at the moment?
I think the U.S. government has done a lot in terms of the SPR, the strategic reserve releases and that sort of thing to keep prices, relatively moderate after there was a big run up, right after the invasion. What this does show, I think, is that the various sanctions against Russia are beginning to have some impact. They didn't have much impact last year, partly because the U.S. has been and Europe have been quite careful not to try to dry up Russian oil because they didn't want to hurt their own economies and other economies.
Right. Can you speak more about why we saw those huge spikes in the price of gas last summer and why you think things might go differently this year?
Well, I think there was a lot of concern after the invasion that there would somehow be a cutoff of oil from Russia. Russia is one of the world's most important energy exporters, and so anything that happens affecting Russia concerns the markets. But then after that, I think the markets calmed down. A lot of oil was released onto the market by the U.S. and others, and also you had a very relatively weak world economy. China, which is the biggest oil importer, had its sort of worst year in terms of oil consumption in 40 years. So all that kind of tamped things down. This year is still somewhat unknown. China's coming back. The group known as OPEC is still keeping things fairly tight. So, it all kind of depends on the world economy, China, what OPEC does, what happens over the next few months.
Yeah, and I wonder if you can talk about, Stanley, what this fluctuation in prices since the war happened in Ukraine really says about America's dependence on outside oil.
Well, America's dependent on, world prices to a great extent. But the U.S. is also a very big oil and also natural gas producer. Here, where I live in Europe, we've had tremendous increases in the price of natural gas, which has also increased electric power prices. And I think the U.S. has been largely shielded from that phenomenon.
Are you expecting more sanctions?
I think they have a lot of sanctions in place now. The question is whether they want to tighten them. I mean, what Russia has been able to do, Russia has lost its main customer, which is Europe. And what they've been able to do is send more oil to India in particular and to China. I think the question is whether the U.S. And Europe try to put more pressure on Russia, in the coming months.
Right. A very fluid situation, lots to follow. Stanley, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
It promised to be the most exciting match of the opening weekend of the SKNFA Premier League, and it lived up to expectation. Flow 4GK and Rockets delivered a masterclass against Rams Village Superstars, brushing them aside 4-1 at the Warner Park on Sunday afternoon. Shaquem Butler got the goal scoring off in the 17th minute, while Mervyn Lewis added a second in the 40th minute, only for Tahir Hanley of Village to score just before half-time, giving Village a lifeline. But Carlos Bertie and Joshua Bradshaw ensured that Keon walked away with all 3 points in the 52nd and 83rd minute respectively. Village fought valiantly despite going down to 10 men in the first half when Raheem Francis was sent off with a straight red card in the 38th minute for denying an obvious goal-scoring opportunity. Keon's assistant coach Valentine Anthony praised his players for a comprehensive performance in their first match of the season.
Well, I must say kudos to my team, as you rightfully say, big winner. I think we trained hard. Believe me, we really trained hard. Players them did what they were supposed to do. We wanted more goals, but fortunately, fitness played a role in that. So hopefully, going on to this season, players them get fit and we just dominate the league.
Coach of Village superstar Stephen Clark said his players made some errors that cost them the match.
Starting off, we had too much individual errors. Every goal let's score came from an error from ourselves defensively, individually. So that's something we definitely got to tighten up on.
In Sunday's earlier match, Fast Cash Saddlers United came from 2-0 down in the first half to defeat Elko Limited Security Forces 3-2. Mari Piggott got a header in the 10th minute to give Security Forces a 1-0 lead before Daniel Francis doubled that lead in the 26th minute. But a free kick masterclass from Evansroy Barnes in the 39th minute gave Saddlers a goal just before half-time. Barnes then equalized from the penalty spot in the 57th minute before Trevor Hanley delivered a masterclass of a free kick in the 65th minute to give Saddlers the go-ahead goal. Saddlers coach Samuel Phipps described the tale of two halves for his team.
So what went wrong is there are some defensive errors. I thought that the guys, they didn't do what we did on the training pitch, but nonetheless, we're going back to the drawing board and work on it again. You see I made some switches. One of the centre backs, I put him out on the left, and I brought back one of the players who were playing in the midfield to play centre back. Well, he played there last season, but I thought that it was time for him to graduate there, but I have to bring him back to stabilize the defense, and it worked.
Coach Sinclair Morris noted that his team lost focus, but said some of the blame was down to officiating.
I think our players wasn't disciplined enough. We kind of missed the shape of our organization, and also I don't like to bash the official, but I have to do that. Couple of the goals that score on us were no fault. It was a bad decision by the referee. I'm not bashing them, but.
So after Sunday's match, the results for the weekend see Newtown winning 5-1 against Bath United. That match played at the Sandy Point playing field. Garden Hotspurs defeating Sandy Point 2-1. That match also played at the Sandy Point playing field. In Virchilds on Saturday, Connery defeated St. Peter's 2-0. St. Paul's drew 0-0 with the home side Old Road United Jets. Then on Sunday at the Warner Park, Security Forces being edged out 3-2 by Saddlers United, and Village Superstars crushed by Keon Rockets 4-1. So the point standings after the opening weekend see Newtown United at the top of the table, followed by Keon Rockets, Connery FC in 3rd place, Saddlers in 4th, and Garden Hotspurs in 5th place, all with 3 points, but just separated by goal difference. In 6th and 7th place respectively, Old Road United Jets and St. Paul yet to register a goal. And the bottom 5 teams see Security Forces, Sandy Point FC, St. Peter's, Village Superstars and Bath United in 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th place respectively. Each of these teams failing to register a point at the start of the season.
Welcome to the SKN Newsline Weather Report. I am Janil Boone. Here is a look at the forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis. More detailed weather report, visit our website at www.sknnewsline.com.